Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and I wanted to do a list of the top 10 games that came out before the year 2000. Now, this is the year before 2000, so it does not include 2000 itself. It is basically 1999 and earlier, as far as the best 10 games from that time frame onwards. And no, it's not going to have chess on the list. Chess would be a viable option, just for the record. Chess would absolutely be a viable option, but for the sake of just keeping this simple, I am not including such classics as Go, as chess, as... well, those are the two that I'd consider. I'm sure there are others as well, but I don't necessarily appreciate checkers or backgammon as much as I possibly should. I'm not going to get distracted here. Let's focus on the list. So, let's focus on the list. These are the top 10 games before the year 2000, going over them and going through them in rank, from least favorite to most favorite, as far as the ones I'm concerned with. We went over on Board Game Geek. I went and I searched for anything for the year 2000 and earlier, and then took a look at the games and then picked out the 10 that I like the most. Starting off the bat with one that is debatably controversial, and I own 6 of these games. 2 more of them I'm in the process of getting back, and 2 more more on the fence about, and we'll talk about that as we go through this. But starting off with number 10. Number 10 is one that I did just recently get back. I don't know if it stays in the collection, that's a longer conversation, but number 10 is Catan. Catan from Mayfair Games from Klaus-Tober. Catan is from 1995, I want to say. I probably should have pulled up the dates as I went. But Catan is from 1995, and it's one in which it's held up for a reason. It continues to be reprinted, resold, continuously getting new and advanced names, such as, Catan instead of Settlers of Catan. A very complicated adjustment to the title, but one that we are sticking with nonetheless. But Catan, currently in its 5th edition, is a game that has done well for a reason. And it's a game that I'm always happy to sit down and play. And it's a game that when they come out with the newest variation or version of it, I believe they just came out with Catan, Dawn of Humankind, I am always interested in those because the core system of rolling dice and gathering resources is fun. The core system is compelling. The core system is rewarding. The core system is engaging as players try to sit there and build out their own unique little enterprise in the common world that they share. But then as you roll dice, trying to figure out how you're going to build up and gather resources to continue to reinvest in the engine that you're building. There are a lot of reasons why Catan has moved away from many gamers' go-to game. Many gamers enter the hobby with Catan, but from there they move onwards, and they don't necessarily always look back. And some people keep it, some people don't. Some people play it again, some people don't. But it's one that is their gateway game for a lot of reasons. It's the one that pulls them in for a lot of reasons. The combination of simplicity, of accessibility, how well known it is. It has taken the world by storm in a large way and has been one of the many things that has contributed to the growth of board games, especially in the US. That just the idea of Catan entering the market and just showing people that board games don't always have to be Monopoly and Risk. There's nothing wrong with Monopoly and Risk, but Catan holds up very, very nicely. Number 9 is one that I don't own, and it's one that I probably should. I've owned it at times, and I've gotten it back, but I find that as much as I enjoy number 9, it's one that I thoroughly enjoy, but I don't find myself pulling out and playing compared with other 2-player games, and that's Lost Cities from Reiner Knizia. Lost Cities is a fantastic game of basically trying to go through a bit of a lane battler as you try to figure out, not really a lane battler, I'm saying that wrong. It's a game which you're trying to compete over cards of different colors in order to build out your own structures. The problem is you're going on these journeys, these expeditions, and you're going on them, but you have to kind of commit and invest. And if you start them, well, as soon as you start them, they're worth negative points. And so the balance of starting a journey is not worth it to you to start it unless you're prepared to really commit to it, because if you start it and don't properly put in time, effort, and energy, otherwise known as the cards that you're going to draw, you're going to score negatively for it. And as soon as you enter into it, that means you have to focus time and attention and card draws on a color that you're now trying to not score negative points for. So the balance always is, do you go for 2 rows, for 3 rows, maybe 4? Do you think you can get the right cards and the common cards that you need in order to score well? And do you think you can get those deal cards so you can double your score or possibly double your negative score? Lost Cities gives you these little challenges, and it gives it to you in an accessible form. I think the date on this one, I'm going to have to pull these up as I go because I did not type these down beforehand. But Lost Cities is one that gives you a tug-of-war back and forth, not tug-of-war over the lanes themselves. It's a 1999 title. Not a tug-of-war over the lanes themselves, but a tug-of-war over the cards. If you're going for red and I'm going for red, well, we both want red and we're both going to have to fight for it, which is its own little challenge. Lost Cities holds up. It does a great job. It's one that I consistently recommend as just being a great 2-player entry-level experience that gives you enough strategy that there's a lot going on in the game and a lot to come back for. Coming back with another 1997 title. I don't know why I said another. This is 1995. We had 1999. Now we have a 1997. We have For Sale. For Sale from Stefan Dorr. Stefan Dorr, For Sale has been reprinted a few times. Got a recently new edition from Different Games. I believe I have the expansion packed in here with some metal coins and things. I have like these little metal coins from the expansion, and the expansion of the For Sale Advisors. Haven't really read them yet, but we'll get into that. But For Sale is one that consistently holds up as one of my favorite auction games that plays well, plays generally in 30 minutes, plays well at a decent number of player counts, anywhere from 3 to 6 players plays decently, and gives you a fun puzzle as you go through 2 rounds of auctions. You're going to first try to be bid on properties, and then you're going to try to sell those properties, and the combination of those actions, the combination of that sequence, in terms of not just knowing how to bid for the right properties, but knowing when and where to sell the right properties for the right return, that's going to determine your score in the game. And so knowing how to bid, knowing how to get your hands on the right things, knowing when to cash in, when to cash out, what's worth it, there's a constant challenge in the game as you're mindful of the fact that when you bid the highest amount, when you're first place, you're committing, but you guarantee what you want, but you have to give up all your bid. But even being second in the bidding means you only have to give up half your bid, and you get the car that's second as good, which the difference between a 27 and a 28, well, the 27 is often just as worth it if you're paying half as much for it. Although the 30 being the highest card, sometimes locking in that win is worth that extra money. For Sale gives you a tight, quick little puzzle in around 30 minutes, works well at a variety of player counts, and just does amazingly well for a title from 1997. Which brings us to this next one on the list, which is going to be, let's see if we can pull this up over here. I'm trying to pull it to the year. The next one, coming in at number 6, is we have, let's see if we can pull this up. Number 6 is going to be another 1999 title, which is Chinatown from Z-Man Games. Chinatown consistently goes in and out of print, and the reason for that is because it's a game that holds up. From Kirsten Hartwig, it's a game that holds up well as far as being simple in the mechanisms at play, simple in what the game is offering, simple in terms of what the game is actually doing for you, but it's one that is incredibly good at all those things. It's a simple negotiation game. You're just trying to bid or focus over different things, trying to figure out how you can get your hands on different stuff and different properties, different blocks of shops. You're focusing on the actual territories themselves as well as the actual shops that go in those territories, and the combination thereof are going to determine how you can maximize your return every single round. Chinatown is a game that is often not indicated, it's often marked by the frenetic yelling of players back and forth as they try to insist that the other player is completely dead wrong for not making the deal that they agreed on. It's a game which you continuously insist that you are operating against your own best interest. Players are going head to head, screaming and yelling and just having an absolute blast. You can see Shut Up and Sit Down's review of this. You can see No Rules Barred playthrough of this. Chinatown is just a great game of freneticness, of yelling, of panic, of insisting that the other player is wrong, even as they end up losing because you made the right call at the end of the day and refuse to sell your shops, your block, your locations for less than the price worth it for them. Chinatown is simple in its mechanics. It simply gets some stuff and then try to barter with the other players over the right value of said things, but it works well. If you want a game like Monopoly where you're trying to engage in mutually beneficial and structured transactions where I can pay you this and we'll all end up better off for it, Chinatown has that, but in a game that I find works significantly better, and in a game where the chaos of the barter lends itself beautifully to just an excellent but panicked system of playing a game. Plays in around an hour or so, generally. Amazing game for what it does. It's again, an older title, but one that holds up. Coming in at number 7, I guess. Number 6, I mean. Number 6 is going to be Acquire. Acquire is an older, possibly the oldest title. No, I don't know if it is. It might be the second oldest title on this list. Acquire is another one that I don't have. A 1964 title. Acquire is one that I need to get it back. The problem is I don't like most of the copies currently available. You see, as a 1964 title, Acquire has gone through so many variations of it. And the one that's most sought after is actually like a $200 copy of it with like giant plastic buildings. Honestly, I'm comfortable with any of the more recent ones. None of the versions that I've seen of Acquire really give me the components that I would want. Even the $200 one, there are many aspects I'd still complain about. I want a new version of Acquire ideally, but I don't know if we'll see that happen. But Acquire, similar to Chinatown, is simply a game of collecting lots and then trying to engage, well, not so much in transactional bartering, because that doesn't really happen in Acquire, but more hostile takeovers. You're going to be gathering lots in the game. You're going to start the game with a few tiles, and you're going to put down tiles on the board to try to make hotels. Every time you connect 2 tiles, you're going to make a hotel chain, and then from there, as the hotel chains get larger and larger, every turn you have the opportunity to buy 3 shares in any number of the different hotels on the board. The balance of this is you're trying to buy not just for the long-term holding, but you're also trying to buy for the cash out, because if you can cash out as hotels grow, you'll earn yourself more cash to continue to reinvest in things as they get larger. So you're going for this combined portfolio of things you want to hold on to as long as possible for the end game payout, as well as things you want to turn around and sell as soon as possible so you continue to get more money to buy more things. And so you're watching hotels get larger and larger, and you're trying to buy in on these properties trying to ensure that what you pay for them versus what they sell out as gives you enough of a return that you can continue keeping the cycle going. You're going to sit there and try to play tiles down, tiles that are going to situationally try to tempt others into the right or the wrong move so that you can continue to grow the right and wrong hotel chains, and you can go ahead and continue to build new hotel chains, because as hotel chains merge, they're going to result in one hotel chain being the dominant one and the other one going into nothingness, with players have the opportunity to hold on to shares for whatever the next entity it becomes, or alternatively to go ahead and sell them to continue their funding in this property. Acquire to me is always the game I always called Acquire the game I thought Monopoly should have been, in terms of being a game that is just ridiculously easy to dive into, gives you that economical aspect, has enough luck in it that people will absolutely complain about it, but has a lot more strategy in terms of what and how you're going to be bidding on things, not really bidding, but buying different things, as you try to make predictions as far as what is most likely to remain king of the hill by the time all is left standing. Acquire is fantastic and holds up tremendously well. My number 5 is a title that I'm waiting on my newest copy of it from it, and it's going to be Ra. Ra, which saw its most recent reprinting so far from 20th Century Games, I believe, has the most recent reprinting of this game, with art from Vicente Tret. Ra is the second Reina Knizia title on this list. I think only the second. I don't think there's another one. Ra is I guess at least Reina Knizia with 2 of these 10 games, but Ra is the ultimate auction game. And it just works brilliantly at what it does. Whenever somebody wants an auction game, while there are games I prefer over Ra, first of all, they're after the year 2000. Second of all, is they often combine other mechanics in them. To me, Ra is it's the best auction game in terms of if you're looking for something that gives you almost a pure auction mechanic. It's basically auctions combined with set collection. You're going to be bidding on sets of tiles, and sets of tiles that will score in different ways, both doing each of the 3 ages of the game, as well as doing the end game itself. And so you're trying to balance the economy of what makes sense and what's worth it as you go through these auctions, as you understand that you can only win a few auctions each round with your limited sun commodities that you're trying to trade in. And you're trying to factor in the value of anything. The value of the sun you're going to get, which is going to determine your bids for next round, the values of the tiles on the table, as well as the fact that are there going to be these larger auctions. If one player is left standing, they can potentially get these large windfalls, and you have to be mindful of the fact that leaving a single player left before time runs out could potentially work out against all the other players at the table. Ra is delightful in what it does. It is tight in the economy of the game. It gives you enough set collection that there's always another puzzle. There's a reason Ra has gotten a dice game and the Priests of Ra and these other offshoot titles, as well as multiple reprintings throughout the years, and it's because it's just very, very good at what it does. At being a quick, clean, pure auction system that is delightful in everything about it, and just, it's such a good game and it holds up tremendously well. Coming in at number 4, I lied. Wow. Number 4. I'm sorry. I'm distracted because I have some of the titles here on the table and I'm looking at them. Number 4 is the third Reina Knizia title on this list, and it's Tigris and Euphrates. Wow. Reina Knizia has 3 of these titles. But that makes sense because he's been a prolific designer for a very long time. And for me, Ra and Tigris and Euphrates are some of his best designs. And Tigris and Euphrates is one that I only don't have it because I played it too much and I generally win with my game group. But even then, I kind of want to get it back, because Tigris and Euphrates is so good at what it does. Tigris and Euphrates coming in, and speaking of which, when are these titles from? We have Acquire's the one before that, so Ra's going to be, I think Ra's 1995, if I'm not mistaken. Ra's 1999, and Tigris and Euphrates is, give me a second here. Tigris and Euphrates is a 1997 title. Tigris and Euphrates is a abstracted war game. It's an abstracted war game, or really just an abstract game, but it's an abstracted war game which you're placing down tiles to make your sets larger, to get points in various colors, and then at the same time you're going to have these interactions where tiles merge and battles occur, either from internal or external revolts, either wars or revolts, internal conflicts versus external conflicts. But the goal of the game is to try to get as many points as possible, but really you have to try to diversify as much as possible, because there's 4 colors in the game, and your score is the lowest of 4 colors. If you have 10 red, 10 blue, 10 green, and 3 black, well, your score is 3. So your score is the lowest of the colors you collect, which means you have to diversify what you're doing, which means it's not good enough in this game to get a single engine up and running. You have to get 4 engines up and running, because you have to balance around that scoring aspect, which is one of his scoring mechanics he's utilized in other games, but I think it works brilliantly in Tigris and Euphrates, and it really forces players to consider what they're going for and how they're going for, and the fact that John over there, who always looks like he's winning, may not actually be winning because John is suspiciously light on green, which he really needs to clean up if he wants to have a chance of playing this game. Tigris and Euphrates involves placing tiles down. On your turn, you have 2 actions. Your actions are primarily going to be placing tiles down, but then occasionally you're going to be doing other devious things, such as rearranging leaders, placing devastation or whatever they're called, these markers on the board that will blow up tiles, refilling your hand, But as you place tiles, you'll eventually cause conflicts, either internal ones, well, internal ones are from leaders, and external ones are from tile placement, but you're going to be going ahead and placing down these tiles, and you're going to be mindful of the fact that at any given point, you're going to trigger conflicts between you and other players, and you have to be prepared to back up those conflicts with tiles from behind your hand. It's a game that starts off all nice and friendly until the nations start converging, at which point it shows exactly how cutthroat this game is. It is brilliant at what it does, and the various modules they have, in the most recent Fantasy Flight Edition, which I think is also out of print at this point, they show you the various modules they have to keep the game interesting, as well as the various temples and monuments that will earn you recurring revenue every single round. Tigris Euphrates is a brilliant, abstract war game that works tremendously well, is tremendously cutthroat, plays in like an hour and a half, and plays well at 3 and 4 players, and does an amazing job at just a brilliant game for a 1997, did we say it was? 1997 title. It just holds up tremendously well. Tigris Euphrates is the last of the games that I do not own, and the third Tigris and the third Reign of Knizia title on this list, which I don't have any of them, but they're all on this list. Coming in at number 4. Number 4, we have coming from Jeroen Domen and Joris Wiersings, I think, sorry for the butchering pronunciation, but we have Bus. Bus, a Splotter game, a capstone game. Bus is absolutely tremendous, and one that, I don't know the year this one is, I'm guessing 1995, I vaguely have that in my head, but Bus is not my favorite Splotter game, but possibly my second favorite Splotter game. It's a 1999 title, 1999, and Bus is just brilliant at the simple economy of what the game does, which makes sense because that's what Splotter games are. They are simple as far as the actual rules on the table. They're usually very easy to teach, but the depth of them comes from what you can actually do in the game. And in Bus, you're trying to attract passengers, but you're trying to be mindful of a dozen different things, such as what your actual bus can actually carry, how far things can be carried, which routes you're going to be taking, how you're going to attract those passengers, when you're going to take that action to actually adjust time around your needs, which sounds wonky, but it does work. Bus is brilliant, it is mean, it is cutthroat, it does so many things tremendously well, and it does all that in usually around 90 minutes or less. It's tremendously satisfying, and yet tremendously simple and compelling all at the same time. Bus is absolutely fantastic. I just need to track myself down those deluxe bits for this one, because this is one that is very hard to get your hands on. Coming at number 2, designed by Wolfgang Kramer and Richard Ulrich, we have El Grande. El Grande, which is absolutely delightful. This already is we're moving into some of my top 20 games of all time. I think El Grande is my top 20. I could be wrong. We'll find out. But El Grande is amazing every single time I play it. El Grande holds up every single time I play it. El Grande is just absolutely delightful every time I play it. And the truth is, it's delightful whether or not I'm playing it. It's just delightful. El Grande is the granddaddy of area control. And as far as year in this one, I'm going to stop guessing because I've been wrong every single time so far. But El Grande is... Let's see, not popping up there because I put a period in the title. El Grande is a 1995 title, which is a guess I keep making, but apparently I should have finally made it here. El Grande is a 1995 title, and I have the big box, and I haven't felt the need to dive into any of the expansions, because honestly the base game is so compelling as is that it has always been a delight to play the base game. I'm happy I have the expansions for if or when the day comes when I actually want that variety, but El Grande is area control, but it's area control done simply, elegantly, beautifully, and just fantastically well. It's a game which across 9 rounds you're going to be placing down your various pieces, taking down various actions, and every 3 rounds you're going to have a scoring round, so you're trying to be mindful of the timing of the game as you place your various pieces across the board, as you try to move the king around the board to influence placement and lack of placement, as you dump Caballeros into the Casio in order to be able to redistribute them in later rounds. The fact that every round you're taking an action card that gives you an ability, as well as placement of what you're able to do over there, and the fact that you're bidding for that, basically by using a turn order card that's going to determine what the order you get to select things in, but also how many Caballeros actually enter your courtyard from your province. There's a constant tug of war at play as you play El Grande, and it's one of those games that when you introduce people to it, they're always amazed and compelled by it because it does hold up. It does hold up as being absolutely fantastic despite its age. It does tremendously well. It is simple, it is elegant, it is absolutely incredible. It's one of my favorite area control games in my collection. El Grande is just delightful. My only real complaint against it is the fact that I personally find that I tend to only play it at 5 players, but I find that that's just because 5 players is so much better than 4 that I just want to play it at 5 every single time. Which brings me to my number 1. My number 1, which is going to have possibly the earliest date. It's possibly the only game that exceeds, let's see, coming in at 1876. 1876. I eliminated chess, but I left in this 1876 title, and some of you may have figured it out, but that is Crokinole. Crokinole, sorry for the giant board over here. Crokinole is an 1876 title that I'm going to go ahead and put this down before I hurt someone, probably myself, and it's one that is absolutely incredible as far as the game that this gives you. Crokinole is a flicking game. It's a flicking game of just flicking discs across this polished surface, trying to land them in that little 20 hole, and figuring out who can flick better than the other players, but more than that, who can ricochet their shots around the board, hitting the right pings over there, the right little pins over here, trying to make sure that you can get your shots into the 20, that you can knock other players' shots out of the center, that you can set up blocking shots that players will have a harder time hitting. It's a game of absolute skill and delightful gameplay as you learn how to flick, where to flick, what to flick, and if it just sounds like there's a whole lot of flicking, it is. It's flicking, but it's with strategic choices behind what you do at the same time. It's one of those games that, for me, this is number one, only if you're playing as a 4-player teams game. To me, Crokinole is a 1 versus 1. I enjoy. I find it fun. It's not bad. But Crokinole is a 4-player teams game. That's where I adore this game. That's where this game moves from, hey, that's fun, let's do that, to, oh my gosh, absolutely, I will pick this over nearly anything in my collection if you're talking about a 4-player game of Crokinole, sitting across from one another, taking your shots, planning your moves, working together as you try to play 200 points and land those 20s, which is so satisfying when you do so. Recently, I saw the Tracy boards. Tracy boards has delightful Crokinole boards. They came out with a 5-hole Crokinole board, which you can also get negative points by knocking players into little side holes. Have not played that yet, but it sounds absolutely delightful, and I'm certainly down for it at some point. But this game is absolutely incredible. For an 1876 title, it holds up ridiculously well. Good Crokinole boards are expensive. Those Tracy boards I mentioned can run you $300 easily, but they are worth it. Good Crokinole boards are insanely good, and they are absolutely incredible as far as just as far as what they do. I love this game, I adore this game, and it's one that I highly, highly recommend you try at some point. The only real downside of this is when you play Crokinole, even though a cheaper board, a $100 board you can get from wherever, Mayday Games, whatever, they are still good. You'll have fun with them. But Crokinole is a game that as you level up and as you play on better and better boards, you will find yourself a bit more and more disgruntled with the cheaper boards. And again, $100 is not cheap, but the more affordable boards will hold up less as you actually spend time on those more expensive boards. But Crokinole is an amazing game. Definitely before the year 2000, 1876 counts, but it's one that is just ridiculously good, and I highly, highly recommend. In any case, that's my list. That's my list of 10 games, of the best 10 games before the year 2000, technically excluding chess. If I really wanted to, I could have bumped in chess and taken off Catan easily enough, but chess is delightful. I don't talk about it a lot on this channel, but it's certainly a game that I very much appreciate. Go is good. I don't know if I would have put it as high. Many people love Go. I've always enjoyed it, but never appreciated it quite as much as I did chess. But these are all fantastic games that are worth picking up. They hold up fairly well. Some of these will be out of print in different ways. Tigris Euphrates, Chinatown, Bus, Grande, Acquire. These are all titles that are unfortunately out of print. You might have to wait for the next reprinting, and they do see occasional reprintings, or alternatively picking up on the secondhand market somewhere and paying a pretty penny for them is also a possibility. In any case, and until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, I hope you have a good one.